What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Scrub Investor channel. My name is Buka. For those of you who don't know me, a little background on me. So, I'm a certified registered nurse anesthetist. I've been a certified registered nurse anesthetist for about 5 years now. But I'm an investor. I've been an investor for about 4.5 years now. Um, I was lucky to get into investing and understanding how money works by having mentors. But honestly, even as a kid, I was always interested in how money works. So, it had me thinking about what it took for me to become an investor and what was something that I noticed that a lot of the investors, my mentors, had that I think would be important to share. So, what's the goal and what's the purpose of this channel? The purpose of this channel is to help men become better versions of themselves. As a young individual, I always wanted to enact change in the communities that I grew up in. And what better way to do this than to assist, help, educate individuals to become men that are with a purpose. So that means, as an individual, I think it's our responsibility to help individuals change. Well, not necessarily help individuals change. I want to take that back, but it's our responsibility to pass on the information that we've gotten from our mentors to help other individuals become best version of themselves. So, of course, we're going to have a lot of fun on the channel doing this, but I want to promise you that if you stick around, you subscribe, make sure to subscribe, you're going to gain a lot of information, gain a lot of knowledge that will help you become a better version of yourself. And that's very important to understand. The goal in life should be not to be wealthier than me, not to be wealthier than Tim, not to be wealthier than Steve, but to become the best version of you. So how do you do this? It's going to come down to a mental thing, physical thing, of course, financially, but these other parts of it are just as important because there's no benefit to being a wealthy individual who's socially awkward or wealthy individual who nobody likes. I just don't see the joy in that. I think you can do both. You can be liked and you can be wealthy as well. So that's the goal, and let's get into it. So for this first video, we're going to discuss something that I think is important for a groundwork as we kind of build this house, right? As we build the Scrub Investor house and we build up to what the goal is, which is helping you become the better version of you. So for this first video, we're going to talk about change and what is the importance of changing and why an individual should understand why change is important and why an individual should be open to change. So we're going to break it down this way. I'm going to kind of go back and tell you about my life and the uniqueness of the things that happen and why ultimately I learned the importance of change. Now, of course, if you have mentors, and though for those of you who don't, I'll teach you some of the things that my mentors taught me that has helped me become the millionaire that I am today and also to grow to the level of information and welcoming new information like I do. So, growing up, I had the luxury of growing up in 3 different countries. I was born out of this. I wasn't born in the US. I was born in a different country and I moved here at a young age. Now, we were dirt poor, so I had the experience of seeing what it was like to be a poor individual. Food stamps, you name it. We were on it. Pink Sailor Moon sweaters, not knowing that that was a girl's thing, we were on that, right? When you're poor and you're from a third world country, you don't know what that a certain color goes to a certain. My parents didn't know that. They put us in whatever they could get us. So, of course, I had the luxury of seeing what poverty looked like, right? Now, you fast forward a little bit, a few more years, I get the opportunity to move to the States and go to a, a, a crappy high school initially and then transfer over to a private high school. So at that point, I got to see a different side of the world. I used to play basketball, so I had a lot of different experiences from that. So what did I learn from all these changes in my life, what I learned was in different stages in life, you have to gain something from it. But it's important to understand what you gain because it's going to make the big picture of who you are. So, for an example, I'll use myself. Because of the different situations I was put in as a kid, I find myself when I make decisions, I base my decisions, especially when it comes to investing, based off of the geography, the location that I'm in, and what the outcomes are. Why is this important? Because I have to adopt and I have to change to where I'm at and ultimately to the outcome that I want. So, what is required to change? Now, I want to say this to, to the young guys that are, maybe in their early 20s, 18 years old, just getting out of high school. We live in a different world than our fathers and grandfathers lived in, right? If you're not aware, you do. And I like to say this, that the world isn't going to, especially if you grew up in environments that like some of us did, a little rougher, the world isn't going to care that you didn't have the best of everything. So if you're looking for sympathy, I want you to understand that you're not going to get that. It's not going to happen. You have to pick up where you are, and and I get it. If you can't make the best situation for yourself, you have to leave your next generation with the opportunity to be better. See, one thing that I learned, like my parents, they were immigrants. They weren't wealthy. We weren't even rich. We were middle class at best at the peak. But what they always taught us was you have to go on and be better. They knew that I needed to change. I needed to change my mindset to be that productive individual. I needed to change. I couldn't be like them. I had to change and be something else. And my siblings had to change and be something else. So that's very important to understand. So, what's required for an individual to change? You have to have the mindset. You have to understand that change is necessary. It's not optional, it's necessary if you want good outcomes. The second thing that's important to understand that's required for someone to change is you have to be willing to understand that there's a chance that you don't know it all. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to say that again. You have to understand that there is a chance that you don't know it all. I'll be honest with you. So, speaking from experience, when I'm tasked with something new, I always leave room, even though I have an idea of as to how, I always leave room to call a mentor. See, I'm 32 years old, so at this point, I've had a lot of great experiences, but I haven't seen it all. I'm always tasked with asking my mentors, like, hey, hey, what do you think of this? Hey, Mike, what do you think of this? And hey, George, what do you guys think of this? And the reason I do that is because these guys have seen things that I just haven't seen. So I have to leave room that I don't know it all. Now, there's a chance that I might know it all. Oh, I'm sorry. There's that. That's definitely not a chance. But there's a chance that I probably know the right answer in this situation. But what's the point of investing in something, losing money just because you don't want to do a 30-minute, yeah, hello? Uh, yeah. So, run the deal by them and they say, hey, you know what? I think this or this. Hey, I think you can probably own or finance it. I think you could do it this way. These are things that I think that as a man, you have to understand that you have to be willing to understand that you might not know it all. And those individuals who tell you that they do know it all, run. All right. So, what are some of the benefits to changing? I'll say this. One of the biggest benefits that I found to changing is that individuals that know that you're open to change, people tend to treat you a little bit better. Excuse me. When people know that you are an individual open to change, you operate with an open mind. I think you see the world better, and people can tell that. People can tell that you're not a rigid thinker. They can see you analyzing things because when you're open to change, you go into a situation with the glass empty, right? And there's things to be gained as opposed to an individual who's rigid, the glass is full. So other individuals can sense that from just being around you. So that's one of the I'd say is one of the benefits to changing. And ultimately, people find it easier to work with people who are malleable, who are bendable, who can change, who can fit a employers find that to be beneficial. Some of the smartest guys I know can be rigid. I've worked with a lot of great surgeons that are pretty rigid, but some of the best ones to work with were the guys who are malleable, who you can work with, and people know that. So I think it's a huge benefit for you to be malleable, to be open to change, because people will notice that. Now, what happens to those individuals who choose not to change? I'll be honest with you, it's hard to work with individuals who choose not to change. Those individuals tend to do their own thing solo dolo. They tend to choose the lone wolf route because it's hard to work with people when you're not willing to change. So, as a man, I think it's incumbent on you to understand the purpose of changing, right? Um, and and ultimately, you don't want to be that guy who doesn't change. So, in conclusion, I always say this: changing, changing your mind, opening it up to new ideas is one of the most liberating things. The human mind, we only use such a small portion of it. And if you if you're so rigid that you choose not to expand your mind and expand, especially as an investor, you will lose out on a lot of great opportunities because you choose not to see the world for how vast and how different things are, or all the different opportunities that could be available to you. So it's important to leave your mind open and understand that change is a necessary thing to become successful. And I thought it was definitely fitting for my first video to make this point. And as we grow the idea and grow the Scrub Investor network and build on this house, and I want you guys to kind of understand the framework that we're starting with, which is the importance to open your mind to change. So if you like this content, I want to make sure, if you like this content, I want you to make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the notification button, because we're going to be pumping out a lot of content throughout the year 2023. The Scrub Investor is going to take off. So once again, this is Buka here, and until next time, peace.